and this is the Age Group Multisport Podcast with me, Richard Conway. This is a platform for age group multisport athletes to showcase their journeys. And welcome to another episode of the Age Group Multisport Podcast. We're on episode 78, and on this episode we have the pleasure of speaking to Darren Bird. Darren is a firefighter down in London, and he's been a firefighter for 21 years, in the footsteps of his grandfather and his father, so he's a third generation firefighter. He took part in his first triathlon in 2011 when he was 31. With 30 days notice to get him ready for it, and he was doing it for a good cause. It was for motor neurons disease, which one of his best pals had been diagnosed with, so he decided he would do the triathlon for charity. So he'd never swam 1500 metres before. He couldn't even string two 25 metre lengths together, and when he first started he just rocked up in his newly bought wetsuit and did the race, and he got the bug after that. So we hear how he went from strength to strength, doing all sorts of different distances, and eventually ended up qualifying for age group. And we have a lot of laughs along the way, and a few memories thrown in there of races that we've both been involved in. So that's coming up. Currently reading a really good book that I was given by my son to read. He said, "Read this, Dad, really inspirational." It's by Ross Edgley, who's an athlete, ultramarathon sea swimmer and author, and he holds multiple world records, but he's best known for the longest staged sea swim, where in 2018 he was the first person in history to swim 1,780 miles around Great Britain. And the book's called The Art of Resilience, and it's not just about his sea swim, but it's about how he got his head in the game to be able to do this unbelievable feat. So I'm about nearly halfway through it. Really, really good book. Can't recommend it enough. So if you're looking for some new reading material to inspire you, I would definitely recommend that one. This weekend coming up, Mrs. C has entered us into the relay up at Woodhorn, which is also a qualifier for the sprint triathlon. We're going up there really to support one of our teammates, Steve Hunt, who's actually trying to qualify at that race, and we thought it would be nice just to go up there and give him a bit of encouragement and have a bit of a race while we can. So Mrs. C decided that we'd get three of us together and do the relay. So Jo Hunt, Steve's wife, she's going to do the swim. I'm going to do the bike, and Mrs. C's going to do the run. So that'll be good fun. Looking forward to that. If you're up there, give us a shout out. Be nice to have a chat and a catch up. And if you're racing, good luck. And a couple of podcasts that I listened to over the last couple of weeks, and one was the Simon Ward podcast, and I'm sure I've mentioned that one before. And on this episode, or his last episode, he had run coach on Bobby McGee, and they were talking about methods to develop explosive power and how we shouldn't just run long and steady all the time. And they're also talking about power meters for running, for example, the Stride. So that was a pretty good, informative running podcast. And the second one I'd like to recommend is the Inside a Tri show, and Helen on there had Sophie Caldwell, and it was quite a candid interview actually. It was really good to see how her mindset's changed over the years, and she still has insecurities about her races, and she talks about how she's come to go from middle of the pack to top 10 to actually winning her first World Series. So yeah, a good, honest interview there. Really enjoyed it. Right, now time for the main event, and it's time to listen to Darren's story And yeah, you'll laugh all the way through this because he's such a funny guy, such a pleasant chap to have a chat to. So hope you enjoy it, and we shall see you on the other side. No, Darren.
Hello, mate. How you doing? You all right?
Yeah, not too bad. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, thank you.
Good, good. Thank you ever so much for taking your time out and reaching out and sharing your story and coming on the podcast, because, you know, without you guys, we can't do this. So much appreciated. And if you just want to start off by introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about your background growing up as a kid and how you got into multisport.
Yeah. My name's Darren Bird. I didn't really come from not really. I didn't come from a multi-sport background. I had a lot of energy as a child, but sports-wise, me mum and dad used to, you know, like all good parents, took us to rugby and football and things like that. I started playing rugby, I think, about 6, 7 years of age, but I was too young to actually play for a team. My brother played for a team, so I just used to join in their sort of training sessions till I was old enough to play. I carried on playing rugby probably till my early teens. Also playing football on a Saturday, rugby Sunday. And then in my early teens, I sort of discovered, started smoking, which obviously it's not great to hear. But and then back then, obviously times were a little bit different, to be fair. And we used to go to, you know, scouts and stuff, and then like all the parents would go to a social club afterwards. And I don't know whether, you know, I mean, the social club's not there anymore, so I can't get no one in trouble. But we used to be used to be allowed to have a pint or two while we played pool and things like that. And then obviously that sort of snowballed and developed, and then we used to go there off our own backs on Friday and Saturday night and have a few beers and stuff. So sport kind of got kicked into the long grass as such. And that was it really for a few years. That kind of become the sort of pattern, out drinking and partying and chasing girls and things like that. But yeah, I didn't really go back to sport probably until my very late teens, early 20s, and I started trying to get a bit fit. So I put loads of weight on, especially through secondary school and stuff. I just started playing football again, five-a-side. We used to play a few nights a week. But back then, like honestly, mate, I could get my head around running, chasing a ball, or for a purpose, but I couldn't. I could never have sort of believed I'd turn into one of them people that would just sort of run, swim, or bike for, you know, for fun. You know, I mean, we used to get up early in the morning and drive past people on the way to the cafe for a bit of breakfast and see people running around the common and things like that, and think, what's wrong with them people? They're not normal. Why would you get up early in the morning to go and run, like go and do that? It just doesn't, you know, it's mad. But yeah, so I carried on playing football. And that's kind of where it all started. I kept picking up injuries playing football. And then you'd have a similar position to you with your Achilles at the moment. You'd sort of rest it, but then that would lead to the frustration. And then you'd go back. You'd know it wasn't quite right, but you'd go back and, you know, the first tackle or the first time you give the ball a good whack and you'd feel your foot go again, your toe go again. So then you'd have longer and longer out each time, it felt like. And again, with the lifestyle, you carried on drinking and living your normal lifestyle, and the weight starts to go back on. So you kind of think, what am I going to do? So come up with the idea of going out jogging, and it sort of all started from there. Really, I started off with very, very small runs around the local park, and sort of graduated from, done that for a while just to try and keep fit for when I eventually went back to playing football. And then a friend of mine said to me one day, do you fancy entering this? It's like a trail run series that Human Race used to hold. Used to be on like all through Surrey, and it used to be on like army testing grounds and things like that.
Okay.
And this was 2009, so I was 29 by now. And right. I was still wrestling with the giving up smoking. And bearing in mind, I started smoking when I was about 13, 14 years of age. And I'm now 29, and I've been on the best part of 20 fags a day for that old time. So you can imagine how hard it was getting into the running. And yeah, I was still wrestling with it. But that was around about the time, once I got into the running, just funnily enough, the smoking did stop.
Yeah.
And like I say, my friend said, "Oh, do you fancy coming and do this trail run?" So I was like, "Oh, okay." So we turned up there, and obviously you're surrounded by all these super fit people in all the running gear sort of thing. So we stood on the start line. We started at the back, obviously, because all the super keen ones are at the front, and off we go. And so I just ran alongside him, chatting to him for the first mile or so, and eventually he said to me, "Mate, like, just go. Do you know what I mean? Clearly you're finding this fairly comfortable. Just go." I was like, "No, it's all right, mate. I'll just run along and chat with you." And he was like, "No, go." And I think what he was politely trying to say was, "I can't breathe and you're getting on my nerves. Keep talking at me."
Yeah, because there's nothing worse, is there, than you're at your like wit's end and somebody's just like chatting away and you're like blowing out your arse. So there's nothing worse, is there?
Yeah, I know. But you say that but it's actually a good psychology thing when you're racing with someone. If you catch up to someone, like, you can control your breathing down and then just talk to them normally and stuff, you can see like they're thinking, "Oh, obviously this guy's just not struggling." Do you know what I mean? So it can be a really good thing when you're racing doing that.
Yeah.
Just
I'll bear that one in mind. I'll remember that. I'll bear that one in mind.
But then I took off and I just sort of made my way through all the different runners sort of thing. And I remember coming through these woods, and as I come out the other side sort of thing, everyone's clapping and cheering, and you come over the finishing line, and people are like, "Oh, congratulations, blah blah blah." And I think I've come second or third, but people were giving, like, I got a load of prizes. I was getting like running trainers and watches and all sorts. Yeah, I know, mad. And then after that, I thought, "Oh wow, this is pretty cool." Still didn't obviously think I had any sort of ability or anything, but we signed up for like the rest of the races in the series. And I think I come second or third or first in virtually every one I took part in. And that was obviously then I'm hooked, and like I've got that kind of personality that's quite like 100%.
I'm quite good at this. I'm going to keep on
going.
Yeah. What sort of distances were there, Darren?
So it was all about 10k, 12k, all trail runs. But quite challenging. They was always held, I think, during the autumn and winter, and they were sort of up and down, like I say, the army tank testing grounds and things like that. So it was good. And then from then, that was it. I was running anything and everything I could, just finding local races, signing up, and then it starts off you're doing short distance, and then you're building up 10Ks, half marathons, and then 2010, I think it was, a friend of mine was doing the inaugural Brighton Marathon, and he dropped out and said to me, did I want to take his spot? So I did, and I think that was my first marathon. And I always kind of said when I started running, I'm not really interested in running a marathon. It wasn't really something, but it's like the same as in triathlon, isn't it? You start off with the short stuff, and the natural progression is everyone always makes the assumptions you're going to go longer. So I run Brighton Marathon, and I came over the line in 3 hours and 44 seconds it was. And you can imagine how frustrating that was, your first marathon, and didn't break 3 hours. And strangely enough, it took me quite a few marathon attempts after that till I did break 3 hours. But I think in my head, rather than listening to people and on come race day, following a sensible plan, it was just right. Well, just learn to run faster. So from the minute the gun goes off, run faster. So, as most people who've done them will know, that kind of, you end up paying for it in the tail end, didn't you? So once I learned how to sort of run it, pace myself throughout, and hold a steady pace. Obviously, I broke me 3 hours, and then since then, it's I can do it if I want to or need to. So, and then triathlon. How did triathlon come about? Well, I'm in the London Fire Brigade, and I had a governor at the time, a lady called Jackie McConaughey, who was my station officer, and she used to race as an age group for Great Britain, and she mentioned it a few times to me because she knew I was doing okay with the running, and it wasn't really something that I sort of took very serious. And when someone says, "Oh, you should try and do the age group thing for Great Britain," you think, well, I'm not being funny. I'm not a triathlete, and it's you know, the idea of qualifying to race for your country is just like, even now, is mind blowing. And I've done it a few times, and even now it still blows my mind.
Yeah. Just on that, had you heard of, before she'd mentioned it, had you heard of it before at all? Or when was the first thing you'd come across it?
That was literally the first time I think I'd come across it. And I think probably because of the background, like this is one of the things with triathlon, and it's a whole separate, obviously it's your podcast, but I don't want to go into it. But you think people like me don't grow up taking part in triathlon. You know, I'm from a working class background, and even now, when you look at most people who I mean, I haven't got a highly paid job by any means, but you look at most people who take part in triathlon, they slightly more affluent background. They're normally, you know, I don't want to generalize, but they're sort of, you know.
I think I think that's fair. All you've got to do is look at. Yeah, I think that's fair. I'm not sure about what people actually do, but I would agree in that they're of a certain age and they've got a certain amount of free cash. Because all you've got to do is look at the age group numbers, and between 40 and probably 65 to 69 in both male and female are the most numbers in the qualification, you know, for duathlon and triathlon. So I think, you know, it's quite, and it's not a cheap thing to do, is it? Let's face it.
No, I mean, you can tell people have got money. You've only got to look at the bikes in transition, haven't you?
Oh, 100%, 100%, yeah.
People have got money. But so it wasn't really something that I'd ever sort of come across, you know. So no, that was the first time I had it mentioned to me. But to be honest, when she mentioned it to me, I kind of dismissed it because it just seemed like a pipe dream, you know. It was too much to try and, you know, achieve. And then just coincidentally, very shortly after that, a very close friend of mine got motor neurone disease, sadly, and passed away. And we done the ice bucket challenge and all the things to raise awareness for motor neurone disease. And I was racking my brains to try and think of what else could I do. But it seemed, because I was running so much, to do a marathon or anything like that, people were never going to sponsor me because they just thought, well, that's what you do anyway. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to give you money for saying that you would do anyway. So, and I saw London Triathlon. This was 2011, so I'm 31 now. And I signed up to that for the motor neurone disease charity. Frighteningly, I only signed up 30 days before the event. I hadn't swam, other than on holiday, messing around in a swimming pool or going for a paddle on the beach. I don't think I had properly swam in a swimming pool, I reckon, since my mid-teens. So suddenly I've got 30 days to learn to swim 1,500 meters in open water. And I can tell you, the first time I got in a swimming pool, I couldn't actually swim 2 lengths back to back. But we got there, we did it. And I got through it. I think my 1,500 meter time for that day was about 34 minutes.
How did you find the open water?
I mean, it wasn't too bad where they hold London Triathlon. Do you know what drove me mad? Because they obviously have the safety boat and it was going alongside you. So all you could taste really was like the petrol or diesel from the engine in the water. And that was horrible. And that was probably the most frustrating thing. But in terms of a course, it was a straight out and back sort of thing. So it was pretty easy to navigate. But it was the initial bit, standing there while you're getting your race briefing, covered in, and everyone stood there with their wetsuits on and everything. That was terrifying. I can tell you, that was absolutely terrifying. And then they throw you in the water and you're standing there treading water until the horn goes. And then you think, oh my God, what am I doing here? And to be fair, I was just happy to survive the swim that day. Just wanted to get it over with and get out, get on the bike and the run. But no, it's brilliant. And that was it. Obviously, the minute I finished that, I was hooked on something else. I just go from thing to thing, you know. So, and that's kind of where it all started.
Yeah. Well, it was a great cause to do it for in the first place. And You know, to have 30 days to go from a pool swim to get the distance and then actually to go and do open water, that's like, I mean, that takes some bottle, because a lot of people would like just freak out and panic as soon as they got. How many times did you go open water swimming to practice?
None.
You just went from the pool to the open water venue. So
Yeah,
what did
yeah.
you do? What
You'll
did you
work
do
out.
about a wetsuit?
I bought a wetsuit, but I
Right.
hadn't ever worn it in the water. That was the first time I put it on.
Yeah.
You'll work out by the end of this interview that I'm not the sharpest tool in the box.
No, it's not. No, but the thing is, you know what? That on the face of it, it sounds absolutely stupid. But at the amount of people that actually do that, you know, they'll
Yeah.
they'll sign up for an open water event, and then they'll never like go and practice. They'll practice in the pool, and they'll make sure they can do the distance. And they might, if they're lucky, they might go and do it an open water swim just to check out what it's like, what the wetsuit feels like. But they won't go on a consistent basis. So no, it doesn't surprise me at all. You know, and having 30 days, well, you know, you've got an excuse, haven't you?
No. Yeah, I don't think before the race day I'd actually even hit the distance and all, to be honest with you. So to be fair, I was
Yeah.
pleased just to survive, you know.
Yeah.
But and that was it. And
Well,
then obviously with triathlon, it's the same thing. The
yeah.
natural progression, you go from, you know, that was standard this Olympic distance, and then I took part in Ironman 70.3 on Exmoor.
How long after was that then?
That was about within a year.
Yeah.
But I'd done many triathlons in, but once I started again, I didn't stop. So
Yeah.
you know, every weekend, if I could, I'd be away racing.
And were you and how often were you training, and what sort of training plan and stuff were you into? Did you join a club or anything?
I did, yeah, I did. So look, not at this point. So I was still training every day, but I train a couple of times a day. I would sort of combine it sometimes with my commute to work. So I would drive to the out of London and park up, and then I would cycle in, run straight off the bike, sort of time trial into work, and then run straight off the bike. Or if I was doing my other job, then I would swim before work all day, then run. So yeah, I never followed, and even to this day, and it's one of the things that I would at some point I'd like to really do. All my coaching's always been sort of like training's always been self-trained and self-taught. I mean, obviously I listen and read and watch, but I've never followed a dedicated training plan. And I've thought about this a few times as why is that? Because obviously everyone will tell you follow but I can't stick to one distance. I can't stick to one sport. I just want to do everything. If I see a race and it looks good, I just want to do it. So whether it's sprint, half iron, Olympic, I just you know. So it's really hard to follow just one plan for one race when you just want to race everything, you know. So but at some point, like it would be nice, especially like if I ever qualify for GB again, to actually go, do you know what? Let's just go all in for this and follow a dedicated plan. Maybe get a coach and try that. So yeah, so yeah, like I say, so then I've done Exmoor, which phenomenal. What a breathtaking, beautiful place. Shame that's not running anymore. And then I signed up, like I said before, Natural Progression Challenge Henley-on-Thames in 2013. That was my first iron distance race. And I was thinking about this earlier when I was out running, and I made myself laugh. I think I've done that same thing. So the swim starts first thing in the morning, and it just shows you how you learn stuff as you go along. And I come out the water, it's still very early in the morning. It's like 7:30 in the morning, you know, and there's still a mist around, and I've got a sleeveless tri suit. So I jump on me brand spanking new shiny tri bike that I'd recently bought. I've got no jacket, no cycle top, no sleeves, no gloves. I'd never practiced in the aero position. All of a sudden, I've got 112 miles to cycle, freezing cold on this bike. And for the first, I mean, the weather forecast, I had obviously checked the weather forecast. It was supposed to warm up as the day went on. But the first hour or so of that bike course, the amount of times I kept stopping and getting off, I couldn't feel my fingers, couldn't feel my toes. I was just so cold. It was just painful. And I was thinking, why have I done this? you know, and I thought about stopping at that point so many times. But again, it's sort of, you know, you learn your lessons, don't you?
You do, yeah. These are all learning experiences. You don't learn and become better by, as you know, by doing everything right and correct, do you? You know what I mean?
No. And again, something you also learn as time goes on, no matter how often you race, you still learn things all the time, and you still make silly mistakes that you shouldn't be making, and we still all do it, you know.
Yeah. Well, even the pros do it, don't I? mean, you've just got to look at one of the pro races, and somebody will have put the helmet on backwards, or you know what I mean, or they're falling off the bike over the transition line. You know, it's just
I see. I think it was the European champs in Ibiza. I think Jan Frodeno, I think, as he was jumping on over his bike or something, I think he was either started uphill but he totally mismounted his bike. Do you know what I mean? And you think, I mean, he's as good as it gets, and even he's making mistakes jumping on his bike. You know, it's mad.
Yeah.
But so after Henley-on-Thames, I took part in Challenge Weymouth, which was my next iron distance race the following year. And from there, I saw that they were doing so then my next big race was the European Champs. So you didn't, that was in Weymouth as well in 2015, and it was run by Challenge. You didn't have to qualify to represent for GB for there, but you had to submit your race times, and obviously as long as they were in whatever percentage or whatever, you'd get the spot. So that was my first ever GB race. And I obviously raced there the year previously, so I knew the course. And I don't really know how to describe it. It was mad. My family and friends come to cheer me on. But you put that suit on, and you kind of, you know, you puff your chest out, and you feel a bit taller, and you feel a bit like a superhero. But the weather wasn't great. I remember standing on and not being the best swimmer even to this day. I remember standing on the beach and looking at the sea, and it was rough. And honestly, I can't describe how rough it was. And I was thinking to myself, any other race, if this wasn't the European Champs and Challenge weren't under pressure to put on a swim for this event, I'm telling you, nowhere else in this country would let you race in the sea that rough. And I just stood there looking at it thinking, I don't want to get in that. I honestly don't want to. But obviously we did, and I kept thinking, right up to the start, I kept thinking, any minute now they're going to make an announcement and just say, like, obviously we can't swim in that, it's too dangerous, we're going to cancel the swim. And you stood there and you're waiting and waiting, you think, I think we're going to go soon, and then that's it, off we go. And you're thinking, I can't believe this. So like normally I'd run and dive into the water, sort of, you know, I'd done the tentative, you know, because I'm really not sure about how rough it was. But it was 2 laps. And the first lap, I actually, believe it or not, had a pretty good swim. I think my first lap was about 27 minutes, something like that, which is good for me. But my second lap, the sea got rougher the whole time we was in it, and everyone was just getting carried away on the waves and stuff. And I think my second lap was about an hour. So it just shows you.
What a massive difference.
Yeah, honestly, when I come out, when I come out the water, I was like, no, I've had enough of this. And then you get on the bike and it was wet and cold, and you got like a rain cape on, and you're thinking, no, now I've got 112 miles on the bike in this. And then obviously you come back, you got through it, and then you come back into the marathon. And I always think, like, the marathon, no matter how hard it is, obviously running's my strongest discipline anyway. So, but you always think, no matter how hard it is, you know, it's your final thing, and then it's over, innit? So you just got to get through it. And so that was that. But obviously putting on that tri-suit, once you've put it on once, it's, you know, you just want to wear it again and again, don't you? So
you do, yeah.
I qualified next for sprint distance duathlon in 2016 at Avilés.
Yeah, was that triathlon?
No, I'd done the sprint distance duathlon there.
Yeah.
And that was it. I think I'd done mainly duathlon after that for a while, but I've got to say that was probably one of my favourite ever races at Avilés. It was draft legal, but it was pretty much flat. I think there was one section on the bike course that went up a little bit, but I think now sprint distance is probably at the moment my favourite distance now. I've done all the long stuff, and I've kind of gone back now to and quite enjoy the sprint, but I think that's probably because you can sort of do less volume of training, but then you maybe have to work on your speed work a bit more, but you can knock the volume back. Keep training for the Ironman distance and stuff year after year. It's a lot of training. So yeah, I've got into my sprint stuff now, but yeah, Avilés is brilliant. And I know it's kind of frowned upon by most people, the draft legal format, but I quite like it, to be fair. It's I know a lot of people think that just makes it a bit of a running race, which it does to an extent, but there are still quite a lot of tactics involved in it when you get the other people, and like say you're in bike packs and you can work as a pack, but then some people don't want to work, so you get a lot of that going on. And then
I was going to say, I'm with you. It's my favourite format, and I don't see why it's frowned upon, because that's what the professionals do at those distances. You know, the Olympic and sprint, they're doing draft at both. You know what I mean? Agree. So and I think it's more exciting to watch, especially if it's on like a looped circuit. More exciting for the spectators, and you know. So I don't really get that whole frowned upon idea. I think it's exciting to race and exciting to watch, in my opinion.
I totally agree. I really enjoy it. And it's funny as well, isn't it? Because you'll get people, like I say, jumping in that bike pack and they do absolutely no work whatsoever. And then I remember in Avilés, funnily enough, I think we had 2 Americans on the back of our bike pack, and we was like going mad at them, throwing a few expletives into them and stuff. And they just basically ignored us. And then when we got to the run course, one of the guys come past me on the run course and beat me. I was fuming. But
I mean, that happens, doesn't it? It's like, I think it depends. If you've done a few, it depends on the type of race that you're in. Sometimes you want to work and stay away. Sometimes you're going to get caught. And even if you do try and get away from a pack, you're just wasting energy. So it's like, you may as well save yourself for the run, in some circumstances, not all the time.
Yeah, no, there are times, isn't there, when you can see the next bike pack behind and you think, I don't want them catching our bike pack, because then obviously it's more competition once we get back on the run. So you keep going to the front to up the pace. But it's really hard to up the pace because you just get swallowed up because the pack's moving quicker behind, isn't it? So, it's hard to sit on the front and increase the pace, unless you're a super strong time trialist. But and then from Avilés, I went and took part in the Powerman Zofingen long distance duathlon world champs. It's amazing, beautiful part of the world. Hard course. The run course on it is tough. The bike course I don't remember being too bad. I think there's 2 or 3 big climbs on it in Switzerland, but great race, really enjoyed that. So, and then from there I took part in the Ibiza sprint distance duathlon European champs. Again, I didn't have too bad a race. There was a bit of confusion there. When they set up the transition, this is really strange, but the night before they set up the transition on the beach. I mean, what's that all about? How have they not looked at the tide times?
Well, I have never in all my life seen any venue race set something up on the beach. It's just like, why would you do that?
Yeah,
we were there
mad.
The night before when they were doing it, and I'm like, that's not going to be transition, is it? That's for something else, surely. And then,
I mean, it looked good for the photos when they were setting it up, but
but didn't look so good when the tide was taking it all out. What did it really?
No. But that was I really enjoyed that. I thought it was an absolutely stunning venue. Beautiful place. I know they raced there again. Yeah, they raced there again this year, I think, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
But there was a bit of trouble on the race. So, like on the bike section, I had a pretty good first leg on the run. And don't remember, something that always sticks in my mind is the duck. I don't know what distance you've done. If you've done standard,
I did the sprint.
There, did you?
Yeah, I did the sprint.
Did you not remember the duck that was stood in the middle of the run course? And everyone had to keep running around this duck that just sat there. Do you not remember it?
I don't remember that. No. I remember not knowing I remember not knowing which side to go on because it didn't seem to be on the first run. It didn't gardened off very well. But I don't remember the door.
Yeah, you're right. It was quite narrow in one section as well, wasn't it? But there was like a goose or duck. I've got the picture of it somewhere. But
you'll have to send me it.
Yeah, I will do. Yeah, we'll do. On the bike course, we'd rode it the previous day
Yeah.
to just check it out, sort of thing. But I remember we come down to one of the roundabouts, heading back in towards the town, and we went round the roundabout, and a copper jumped out in front of us and went, no, 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 you've got to go back down there. So we carried on round the roundabout and went back towards transition, and then a marshal jumped out in front of us and went, no, 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 you don't come back in here until you come back into transition. You got to go out again. So we went back up to the roundabout. The copper wouldn't let us pass, and then the marshal wouldn't let us pass. So we ended up doing like 3 laps up and down from this roundabout. And then, unfortunately, all the people that got through just before the copper turned up on his moped and started stopping us, they had got through. So at that point, you obviously know, well, that's the race over, isn't it? I've been faffing around, going up and down around the roundabout for 2 minutes, you know. So I'm out of the game now. So that was a bit of a shame. And I know they always say it's your responsibility to know the course, but we did know the course, and it turns out we were turning at the right place. It was the police officer who obviously didn't know the race course, so he got involved and messed it up. Yeah. But once the race is over, it doesn't, you know, it's over, isn't it? There's nothing you can do about it. So
yeah, that's right.
And then the next race I took part in, and the last one I've done for Great Britain at the moment, was in Pontevedra in 2019. And again, I had a really good first run leg in that. I felt really strong. I trained quite hard going into Pontevedra and Ibiza, unfortunately, as well. But in Pontevedra, as we come out of the town, just as you sort of chuck a right, you went underneath a bridge over the road. And it was about that point, and then it was a long climb up the top of the hill, and then you turn around and come back down into Pontevedra. So it was like an out and back sort of bike loop. And I started hearing this tap, 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 tap as you're going up the hill, and you look down at your tyre, and I've got a drawing pin in my tyre. Oh. So you think it's only a sprint distance race again. So you're thinking, what do I do now? Do I get off and change it? And you think, well, it's not gone flat yet. So the entire climb, I'm looking at the front tyre, just thinking, please stay up, you know. And I'm thinking, well, I've got to the top of the climb. It goes round and roundabout at the top. And as we start the descent, I've caught up. We start hammering it down the descent. So I'm thinking, right, and you can see the next pack just about to turn at the roundabout at the top. So you're thinking, right, we need to get away. So you keep going to the front, up in the pace. And I think we was doing just shy of about 50 mile an hour at this point. And I remember I can still hear tap, 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 tap as this drawing pin's going along the road. So I suddenly start thinking, oh, I've got a drawing pin in my front tyre. If this goes, what's the chance of me being able to, you know, steer it, stop, you know? So I started to sort of ease off a little bit and sort of fell back through the pack. And eventually I looked down and my front tyre's flat. So I managed to steer it. It was obviously difficult, but I managed to get it over to the side of the road. And then I had to change a puncture, which again, sprint distance race, you know, your race is over. But I have to say, it's probably the quickest change I've ever done in my life. So
you're quite fortunate that you actually took something with you, because I just don't bother now.
Yeah, I know a lot of people. I know.
Because I think, like you've just said, if you get a puncture and you've got to change your tire, then the race is done. So yeah. What's the point other than finishing and doing the run? You know, I guess.
For me, it's not even. I just couldn't be bothered to carry my bike back. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, you know.
But
there's no right or wrong answer, by the way. It's just personal choice.
Yeah. I mean, I got back on the bike, I finished it, and finished the run. But obviously, you got the frustration, didn't you? You spent all that money getting out there. It's not a cheap thing. I went and spoke to the team manager, the GB manager. So I think, and it turns out it later sort of transpired that some of the locals weren't that keen on the race being held there because the roads were shut and stuff like that, and they'd stood up on the bridge over the road and thrown a load of drawing pins down in the road. So that was a bit sad, but it wasn't too bad. We turned it into a family holiday, a week out there. So, but it was that was at the start of holiday, and obviously it's on your mind. You're just a bit frustrated, aren't you? Afterwards,
that's it. Yeah.
You have to let it go. And then the only other, I did then qualify for Romania, Bilbao, and Montreal since, but obviously COVID come along. I know some of them happened after COVID, but there was still all the COVID restrictions on travel and stuff, and I didn't really want to get involved in any of that. So, I haven't raced again since Pontevedra for Great Britain.
Yeah, cool. But you still been racing locally and
yeah. So I've been doing a lot of running races and trail races and things like that. I went through a divorce and stuff, so I share custody of my child like 50-50 with the ex-missus. So it's been a little bit more difficult to sort of juggle training and racing. So I've had a last year I didn't race anywhere near as much as I'd have liked triathlon wise, and this year I haven't raced that much. But hopefully I'll sign up for a couple more towards the end of this year. But my lad's, he's 9 now. And as he's getting older, hopefully at some point I'll be able to get back to doing a bit more racing and stuff. But it's just, to race, it's trying to get him looked after. And that my parents are fantastic, but it's still, a lot of juggling in it to try and get him there for the weekend and get him back and go and race. And
the thing is, life takes over, doesn't it? You've got family and you've got responsibility, and what we do is a hobby, and we're lucky to be able to do it and afford it. And
I've got you've got to put it as well. When we're talking about having bigger numbers in the older age groups, I kind of think there's a period in life where people were raising young families and things, so they sort of drift away from the sport. But you think when your kids are a bit older and you've got more time and you haven't got to babysit them and stuff, you can get out and train.
100%. 100%. I mean, I never did anything when my kids were growing up. It was always them. The youngest one played football every weekend, and that's what we did.
And that's the same as my lad now. He started playing football on a weekend and stuff. So that's the other thing, isn't it?
And like when he went to university or whatever, and he did a bit of triathlon with us before he finished playing football, and then started doing a bit of triathlons with us as well. But it wasn't until he finished it, I think he was 18, that we started doing stuff ourselves, and now we can please ourselves. We've gotten neither of them at home anymore, so it's full on for us now. You get your life back. It's just you've got to
stay fit, isn't you? I keep thinking.
Well, I think if it's in you, isn't it? If it's in you and it's what you do, it's part of who you are. Then that's the easy bit, I think.
Yeah, but you keep looking at the age groups, going, "Oh, do you know what? It'll get a bit easier when I go up the next age group." No, it won't.
I tell you what, I'm in the 55 to 59 now, and it's like uber competitive. It's just ridiculous,
mate. Honestly, when you race for Great Britain and you see some of the guys representing Great Britain and stuff in their late 60s and that, and you look at them and you think they look like pure specimens. Do you know what I mean?
And the speed that they're going and what they're doing, and it's but it's good because it gives you hope, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. That's the thing, isn't it? Yeah.
And that's why you need to stay in it and stay fit for later on in life. And I think the older you get, the more you realise that.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I'd never before. I'd only ever since I got into triathlon, swam, biked, and run. Whereas now I do a lot more strength and conditioning as well. Like mix up the training just to try and keep the body well and stay fit and stuff. So hopefully it'll all sort of play a part as I get older.
Oh, absolutely will. Yeah, if you're starting now, it's it's really, really important. Well, that's a really interesting story. I've enjoyed chatting to you, and I think we've just got the standard questions that I ask now, which if you've heard the podcast, you know what's coming. I mean, I have been asking what people do on a weekly basis, like for training, but as you're not particularly training for anything, so at the moment, are you?
Not really, no. Obviously, I train just to stay fit at the moment, but race-wise, I haven't got any like A races or B races. So
so we'll skip that piece then, and we'll just go straight into what's your favourite bit of kit.
Well, do you know what? Probably the best bit of money I think I've ever spent, and I've wasted a lot of money on stuff since I got into triathlon. But I have to say, my watt bike is probably my best investment I've ever made. Absolutely phenomenal bit of kit. Just to give you the ability to be able to get on your bike anytime and get some decent training in, no matter what the weather is, no matter if you're time crunched, you can still fit it in even when your Lipton's gone to bed or before he gets up of the morning. So I'd have to say my watt bike, to be fair.
Nice. I've used them at the gym. We don't have one here.
Yeah.
We've got a Wahoo kicker, but it's similar sort of thing.
Same idea, isn't it? You know.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
What resources do you use for training? You know, when you are training for triathlons, what resources would you use? Like, could be books. What books you've read?
Traditionally books and magazines, but obviously as times have moved on, you get into YouTube, and now most of what I listen to now, to be fair, is podcasts and stuff.
Yeah. Any recommendations?
So I quite like the Simon Ward one. He's really good.
I listened to his today, actually, the latest one he's done.
Yeah, I listened to one of his today. I don't know if it was his latest one though, or whether it was one, because a lot of the podcasts, I don't listen to every single episode. I'll flick through what episodes they've done and listen to the ones that you think are obviously, interesting to you. But yeah, no, podcasts are great. They also help you wind down, don't they? I mean, I used to always listen to music when I was running, whereas I've changed now and listen to mainly podcasts. So slight change in lifestyle there.
So Simon Ward, anything else?
There's one called Oxygen Addict.
Oh yeah.
There's another one called The Triathlon Podcast. Obviously your podcast.
Thank you.
I had to get that in there, didn't I?
You're the one.
So that's it mainly.
Cool. Yeah, nice one. Yeah, I mean they are great. They're really informative, and like you said, you can pick and choose. There's a guy I'm listening to. He's just changed the name of the title. It's called the Triathlon Hour, and he has professionals on, and he's good. He's quite controversial as well, which is quite good.
Cool. What's that called? The Triathlon Hour?
He's just changed it over to the Triathlon Hour. And he does some spin-offs as well. He's got Hayden Wild doing a podcast at the minute.
Do you know what? I think I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, he's really good. He's worth having a listen. And the other one's Triathlon Mockery. Have you heard of that one with Joe Skipper?
Yeah, that's Joe Skipper, isn't it?
Yeah. He's really funny, and it's just
he's funny anyway. Yeah,
he's just a piss take. He's got his Norwegian buddy on there with him, and that's really funny. So light-hearted, yeah. So they're worth looking at. What advice would you give to anybody trying to get into multisport, and if they're in multisport trying to qualify for GB?
Qualifying for GB is definitely, it's one of the best experiences you'll ever have in your life. If you do qualify for GB, when you go and race, I would recommend staying in the team hotel and getting involved with everyone else. I've done both. I've stayed in the team hotel. I've gone on my own without friends or family to support, and you'll make friends anyway. And I've also stayed outside of the team hotel and taken my family and stuff. And as nice as it is, you've got your family and friends there to support you. You don't feel as quite connected with the other athletes in the team. But I would say if it's your first time, stay in the team hotel and get involved with everyone else. But yeah, definitely, if you're going to get into triathlon and multisport, have a go and try and qualify. And if you don't qualify the first time, don't get down about it. Just keep trying.
Yeah.
But like, how lucky are we that we get a chance to represent our country and race Great Britain? It's like like I say, it blows my mind now.
Yeah.
And it don't change no matter how many times you do it either, does it?
I say this like a broken record. We're just so lucky in our sport that because there isn't any other sports that do it.
No.
I mean, I run to an extent. I think you can run for England and whatever but yeah, for this at this level, and I just think we're really lucky in this sport that we can do it. We can actually go to a race where the elite are going to be racing on the same track and course that you're going to be racing on, and then you can do your race and then watch them as well. That's just like
So in Avilés in 2016, Alex Yee won the world title on the Saturday, and then Emma Pallant won the world title after him. And we went and watched him on the Saturday and then raced the course on the Sunday. And I just wanted to throw in there, actually, Emma Pallant, she got up the next morning and come down and had breakfast with us, the age groupers. And then she came out on the course and cheered us all the way around it, which blew my, like, I thought, fair play. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
She
nice,
didn't need
innit?
to get up early after what she had done the day before and come and cheer us, but she was going mental for us. Do you know what I mean? So, like, kudos to her for that.
Yeah, cool. And finally, your short term, I guess, is just staying fit and keeping active.
Yeah, stay fit. Try and sign up for a few more races, get a few more races in.
And longer term, what would you like to achieve?
I'd like to qualify for Great Britain again and get a new suit on and come and hopefully some of my races I've had a mixed bag of disappointment, like not necessarily all through my own fault, so it'd be nice to come and have a race, follow a dedicated training plan for it and absolutely smash it. I think I've come like 12th in my age group, 13th in my age group like a few times, and I've never made inside the top 10. So I think long-term target would be to break the top 10. And then if I can stay fit till I'm about 100, I might actually make it onto a podium.
Yeah. We all say that, don't we? Well, listen, it's been such a lovely chat. It's really nice to meet you, and hopefully one day we might be at the same race together. Thank you ever so much for taking the time.
Too. Thank you. No problem at all. Thank you for having me.
Oh, no, it's been a pleasure. So it's great stuff. Yeah. Have a nice rest of the evening.
You too.
Cheers, Darren. Take care.
We love listening to it. Keep it going.
Oh, nice one. Thank you, mate. Much appreciated.
Nice.
Cheers. See you later.
Yeah.
What a lovely guy. Funny and enthusiastic. And good luck, Darren, if you do get back to try and qualify for age group again. I'm sure you'll smash it. But like we said, family time and life takes over, doesn't it? So, you've got to get back when you're good and ready. So, but no, good luck with everything. And again, thank you for coming on. Well, that's about it for this episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. And we've already got the next episode recorded. And it's a good one. So hope you tune in for that one also. And if you want to get in touch to ask any questions, or maybe you want to come on the podcast and share your story like Darren did, that would be fab. You can get in touch, drop us a line via email, which is the Age Group Multisport Podcast @gmail.com. If you want to DM us, we're on Instagram at amp_1967. We're always looking for new age group athletes to come on and share the story. We're also on Facebook at AmpGB, and you can find all our previous podcasts on our website, which is agegroupmultisportpodcast.buzzsprout.com. And last week I did a thing, and the thing was I made one of those QR codes, so that'll be dotted about, so you can actually just scan it and it'll come straight up to our website, which is, I thought, pretty cool. So there's that to look out for as well. We're also on Twitter at Age Group Multisport Podcast. And I think that's about it. Yeah, just reach out, get in touch, and come on and share your story, and that would be really, really cool. So once again, thanks for listening, and don't forget, stay safe, keep training, and love the process.